Well, I think it is all but official. It sure sounds to me like Gavin Newsom is running for president of the United States. Now, he won't come out and actually say it, but it looks to me like he is. He's on CBS Sunday Morning, and he's talking about, or he's asked about his run for the presidency. And you want to hear his answer to this? Well, let's play cut 18.
You're not afraid to go into red states.
No.
When I saw you slinging shots behind the coffee bar, I thought this guy might run for president.
I have no idea. The idea that a guy who got 960 on his SAT that still struggles to read scripts, that was always in the back of the classroom, the idea that you even throw that out is in and of itself extraordinary. Who the hell knows? I'm looking forward to who presents themselves in 2028. And who meets that moment? And that's the question for the American people.
Is it fair to say after the 2026 midterms, you're going to give it serious thought?
Yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying. And I can't do that.
Oh, yeah. Can't lie to you. COVID is dangerous. Everybody put your mask on. Save your lives. Save the women and children. Hey, honey, I got a group over at the French Laundry. You want to go tonight? We'll all go there without our masks. Won't lie to you. That's all Gavin Newsom does is lie to us. Now, this reporter for CBS Sunday Morning is just basically fawning over Gavin Newsom, which is pretty pathetic because California it ranks the worst in everything, except weather, of course, and beaches and mountains. Heck, it's even got great desert. That is number one on topography. Beyond topography, California's last. And if it's not last, it's close to last. Last in education, last in economy, last in people moving out. Well, maybe it's first in people moving out. Last in holding your residence. So this guy wants to run. It sure sounds to me like he's running. What do you think about that? 855-785-8255. That's the number I want to hear from you on. 855-785-8255. Will Gavin Newsom run? Is he running? What do you think about him? Because I think this is a clear acknowledgement that he is. Oh, I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't thinking about it. And the reporter, oh, you go into red states. You're not afraid to go into red. What would he be afraid of? Nobody from our side of the aisle is engaging in any violence. Everything that's happened has been left-wing violence. What does he have to be afraid of? We're not going to attack him. We might have some signs that say new scum. We're not going to attack the guy. Oh, you're so brave going into states like Texas. Oh, you go to Florida. Wow. It's unbelievable. He goes on, by the way. Let me play you this one. Cut 19.
Governor, you have long said that if you ever run for the White House, you need a compelling why, a reason. Are you moving closer to figuring out your own why and your own decision?
Yeah, Nietzsche said if you have a compelling why, you can endure any how. And so I think the biggest challenge for anyone who runs for any office is people see right through you if you don't have that why. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. And so, that fate will determine that.
You certainly seem to like being on the ground in South Carolina, I have to say that. Seeing you up close, you were having a good time.
I happen to, and thank God, I'm in the right business. I love people. I actually love people.
Loves people. He loves their votes, and he loves their money. He doesn't love people. He loves himself. This is a guy that wakes up, first thing he does in the morning is look in the mirror and smile at himself. Look at me, Governor Goodhair. I'm Gavin Newsom. I'm going to be president. You need the why. The why for Gavin Newsom is easy. He wants more power. He wants to be the most powerful man in the world. He wants to control the world. You see these shots of President Trump now overseas in Malaysia over the weekend, going to meet with Xi, and he gets off Air Force One. He's holding me. I mean, this guy, he just looks powerful. And I think part of it has to do with the office itself. Though Joe Biden didn't ever have that look. It's hard to have that look when you're stumbling downstairs or upstairs. But President Trump does. Don't get me wrong. Gavin Newsom will have the look. He's like a Hollywood made-for-TV president. Hollywood would love him, too, by the way, being as liberal as he is. Leftist as he is. So Gavin Newsom is also a phony baloney. All of this talk about, I can't believe I scored 960 on my SATs. By the way, I'm pretty impressed. I beat Gavin Newsom on the SATs. I was 1080 on my SATs, which back then, I'm 56 years old, was not a great score, but it was better than it is today. Today, apparently, the SATs are easy. Like, it's easy to get 1,1200 on your SATs, from what I'm told. Well, I was a 1080 guy on the SATs, so I had Gavin Newsom beat, and we're about the same age, I would think. This is Gavin Newsom, though, not putting on the Ritz, the opposite of putting on the Ritz. He wants everyone to think he's poor, so he does what Kamala Harris does, he does what Hillary Clinton does, and he puts on some crazy accent. I don't know. Cut 20.
But also, it was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling. And so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of,
it's like the White Stack Bomb story.
Come on. Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Bro. Are you talking about me?
Yo, YG.
YG,
but
man.
Every day in the backyard, just bouncing the basketball, throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man. And your arms yourself. That's it. Whole thing. So just, and then, then this student that was shitty student is in the back with his head down, all of a sudden started throwing the baseball a little faster than everyone else. And started, make a few free throws because I was sitting there practicing 500 of them every damn night. And in high school, I look up in the stands, my dad's back up there.
Okay, dope.
And it's like, man. And then he's bringing his friends, and you're captain of the team, and you're like, gee, and it just saved me, and it got me into college.
So, he threw on, just for a moment there, he threw on a little bit of a, throwing a basketball comment around. Yeah. But it wasn't all that bad. Dan, did you think it was that bad? I mean, I didn't really hear like the Hillary Clinton thick accent that she tries to do.
No, he was just vibing. Sometimes that just happens when you're just talking like that. Sometimes it's just part of the deal,
See, this is where Jen gets mad at me, because this is where I actually defend Gavin Newsom. That wasn't that bad, and the article is pitched as he turns on the accent just to placate. But I think you're right. He's just vibing. This is why the guy is so dangerous. He can vibe with you, and he can vibe with anybody. Now, this idea that he was eating white bread and a poor kid from, the son of a poor sharecropper, I don't know about that.
That one seems a little
less, Nancy Pelosi's is relative. How poor could you be if Nancy Pelosi's your relative? The greatest trader that ever lived. She's better than Warren Buffett.
Yeah. Going back to first hour, we had talked about Spencer Pratt. He has some posts on social media highlighting when Gavin Newsom was supposedly eating Wonder Bread, and he's dressed quite well in this photo.
The Gavin Newsom's dressed well in the photo of him eating Wonder
he may
Bread.
be modeling of some sort. Yeah, it seems to be not quite what he's giving off there.
Maybe this is inappropriate to say, but I grew up in what I would call an upper middle class. Maybe some in the country would describe as wealthy, but not generational wealth, not trust fund wealth, not wealth where your parents can pay for everything wealth, but, country club wealth, parents paid for college wealth, like pretty good. We ate Wonder Bread. That was my favorite bread. Like, I don't know. What does that have to do with being poor? Like, Wonder Bread was the bomb, man.
Sometimes you're just kind of like playing it up a little bit. Like, I realize that, like, we're all very, very fortunate. I'm thinking about my upbringing where I grew up. We maybe didn't live in like the greatest, like, wow, but like the neighborhood I've grown up in it's amazing. But I could share stories about, we had this growing up. Like, you just pick and choose stuff.
Well, buddy, if you ever run for office, you need to tell people that you grew up, just in the poorest place possible, eating Wonder Bread. You had to use duct tape for shoe soles.
Yeah, and then they just Google Maps where I am, and they're like, wait a minute, bro.
Wait a second. He's in Pasadena.
Southwest Pasadena. Like, wait, you knew that? Okay. Couple
the
blocks away
mean
from there.
streets of Pasadena. That's what I tell people. I grew up on the mean streets of Scarsdale, New York. Those were some mean streets, man. I'll tell you what. And I was a minority, by the way. The Jews ruled the streets in Scarsdale. There was like no Christians when I went to school in Scarsdale. It was all Jewish. Maybe this is my love of Israel, though. What did Radar want to say something?
Oh, I was just saying maybe I should run for office because my soul is literally duct taped to my shoe right now.
Is it right now? Oh, boy. Do you need new sneakers? You want me to get you new sneakers?
No, that's okay. I got another like Chinese knockoff Converse from Amazon coming in the mail. Say,
buy American, but you can't beat the price of the Chinese sold Converse.
$12.
The problem is that's why your soles are falling off. Okay? And I'm gonna say this, that this is really gonna. My very special lady friend bought me the most beautiful pair of Ferragamo sneakers. They're all leather. They're beautiful. You know, I've had them now a year and a half, and they are as if they're brand new. I wear them, if not every day, every other day, and they are the greatest quality sneakers. I'll bet you those sneakers last me. Think about this: $700 sneakers that'll last me. I'll bet you they last me 5 years if I take care of them and polish them up nice. Then you start to wonder, okay, you do the math on that. You own one pair of $700 sneakers for 5 years versus a $180 pair of sneakers for maybe a year you get out of these. I don't know. Just something to think about. Do you want to take your life back? Do you want to get healthy again? The folks at Energized Health can help you do this. Their protocol is patent pending. It is about the science, and it is about getting hydrated at a cellular level. What does that mean? It means the pounds just shed like crazy. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks on the Energized Health protocol. It wasn't about crazy diets, and it wasn't about all kinds of supplements that cost you millions, and it wasn't about a crazy workout plan. Now, you change the way you eat around a little bit. You change the way you work out around a little bit. But all of it is doable. In fact, I would say it's easy. So again, 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I know people that lost 150 pounds on the Energized Health protocol. Now, here's what else happens when you get hydrated at a cellular level. All of your vitals go in the right direction. You know, my blood pressure came down. My testosterone levels went up. My muscle mass went up. This is what Energized Health can do for you. And it's not just your body. Your mind will change too. You will start to think clearer and you will be happier. I promise you. How do I know? They got a guarantee like nobody's business. EnergizedHealth.com. Go take the masterclass. Learn about intracellular hydration. And I promise you, you're going to want to get on board with this and take back your life. It's EnergizedHealth.com. Make sure you tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you. So there was an interesting question posed to the candidates for governor here in California. And that question was, what has Gavin Newsom done well? So I thought to myself, well, my Lord, if I was asked that question, what would I come up with? I mean, you know, when I was asked if Joe Biden had done anything well, I say he eats ice cream well. And that's all I could come up with for Joe Biden. If I was asked what has Gavin Newsom done well, he does his hair well. I guess the guy dresses nicely. But I don't think he's done anything well. I cannot think of one thing positive for the state of California that Gavin Newsom has done. And if there is something, and let's be intellectually honest, this may be my bias taking over and I've repressed whatever Gavin Newsom has done well, but I can't think of anything. Can any of you? 855-785-8255. Now, I ask you this because CBS has run this series. This is the same series where Katie Porter said, I think we're just going to end this interview. Same series. She asked all of the candidates, what has Gavin Newsom done well, or what could he have done better? Now, I've got clips from the big name candidates. Javier Baccaria, otherwise known as Becerra, Chad Bianco, our friend from Riverside County, Steve Hilton, also a Republican running for governor. We've got Katie Porter, and we've got Antonio Villaraigosa. Now, this is interesting because the question in the article I read was, what has Gavin Newsom done well? But all the answers here I have are what he could have done better. So maybe even the Democrats feel the same way I have. So let's start with Becerra, Joe Biden's friend, cut 25.
He has kept a lot of the industry of tomorrow here in California, and I think you have to give the governor a great deal of credit. Everyone talks about the demise of California. Well, during his watch, we have grown from not just the 5th largest economy to the 4th largest economy.
And what about a misstep?
It's always easy to Monday morning quarterback. I would have moved sooner on some things. For example, the housing crisis. I wouldn't have waited as long until we see this crushing debt. The high-speed rail. I wouldn't have waited till it became clear that we were going to have all these obstacles, principally in court. Time is money.
The legislature.
Got right. I think this effort right now underway to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't put his thumb on the scale on the votes in Congress, which would jeopardize trillions.
All right, enough of him.
Billions.
So we get the point. Now, in the beginning, he said what he did right was he did a great job of growing California. Now, last I checked, we have net immigration. We have more people leaving California than people coming to California. You have huge businesses that are packing up their corporate headquarters and moving to states like Florida, Texas, Arizona, Utah. They are getting out of Dodge. Now, he says he's grown the economy. I bet if you look, some of that growth in the economy was going to be due to the energy markets when prices skyrocketed under Joe Biden. Now you got the energy sector. We just talked about it. They're leaving, big oil producers. So I give him a wrong on that one. Shall we see what Chad Bianco thinks? Now, Chad Bianco is the Republican from Riverside County, cut 26.
The only thing that I would say he's done well is in his bid to be president, he's acting like a Republican. I think he does a very good job of convincing the rest of the country that California is in a different reality. And so I can't tell you that he has done anything good other than shift away. There has been some times in the past, especially public safety in the last 2 years, where I have been very grateful that he didn't sign some horrific bills that were passed that would have been detrimental to public safety. So I think that was something good.
What is one thing that the legislature has gotten right over the last 2 to 3 years?
I can't help you.
Not a single thing.
No. That comes to mind, no. My 7 years as a sheriff battling Sacramento has been nothing but negative. Nothing but negative. There's not one positive thing for public safety. Not one. I ask people all the time that give me a hard time on social media, just give me one thing. You tell me something that California has done. Tell me what California has done in the last several years to make your life better. And none of them, even the most staunch haters of me or proponents of Governor Newsom or this agenda, they can't come up with anything. They can't take credit for the weather.
I have to agree with Chad Bianco. You know, it's interesting his answer that he came up with, what has Gavin Newsom done well? And deception was his answer. You know, that's true. Gavin Newsom has been very deceptive. He marches around the country. You'd think California was the greatest, most prosperous state in America. Well, meanwhile, we are plagued with crime, plagued with homelessness, plagued with high gas prices, plagued with real estate people can't afford, plagued with wildfires. The list goes on and on and on. Plagued with corporations leaving. But Gavin Newsom goes around the country. You think he's got it down pat. And yes, it's true in many respects. He starts acting like a Republican and copying Donald Trump because he knows Donald Trump's model works. His doesn't. So deception is his best thing. And Chad is correct that the legislature has done nothing to help us. Not from a public safety standpoint, not from an economic standpoint, not from a regulatory perspective. Wouldn't it be nice if the legislature started to reduce some of the regulations, these burdensome regulations put down on Californians and California businesses? It's not happening. So, again, there's nothing. And, you know, I like this reporter. This is the same reporter that Katie Porter wanted to shut down the interview on. She doesn't hammer back at him. I don't think this woman is really a wild liberal. I think this is one of the few reporters out there. To me, she seems like she's doing her job. She asks fair questions, and she doesn't get in the way of the answers. All right, let's go to Katie Porter, okay? What is Katie Porter? This woman needs to get out of this race, by the way. Cut 29.
Well, California is in a cost crisis, and one thing Governor Newsom did that really brought down costs for people is make school lunch free. I'm a mom of 3 kids. I was spending about $300 a month.
Gavin Newsom didn't make school lunch free. School lunch is free for my son who goes to school in Dallas, Texas. And it's not the state legislature in Texas that did that either. It's the federal government that did this. The federal government says that if you're in a poor school district, they will pay for school lunches for everybody. Now, does that make any sense? My son can afford, thanks to Dad, his school lunch. Yet he gets a free one every day. That's a waste of money. But you can't have people feeling bad that they're in a different class. Some people get free lunch, some people have to pay, and it makes everybody's feelings get hurt. Meanwhile, America gets soaked. But this wasn't Gavin Newsom that had anything to do with this. All right, keep rolling, Katie Porter.
Their school lunches. When he made school lunches free, that was $300 that I had in my budget. So I think when we talk about bringing down costs, that's a concrete example of him actually doing that. And I'd like to do a lot more of things like that in my time.
And a misstep?
Pause.
I mean, I think the governor...
She just let you in on the other little secret. I'd like to do a lot more things like that. Give away free lunches, the proverbial free lunch. Nothing is free, by the way. The taxpayers are paying for that. And number 2, you want to give away more free stuff? You just said it. How is California going to afford that? But Gavin Newsom, his positive, according to Katie Porter, is that he can give away lots of free stuff. Continue.
Himself would tell you that he did not, that he created a lot of frustration around French Laundry. He's been very clear that that was something he should not have done. So I think we all saw in the recall that he apologized for that. He took full responsibility, and he's moving full steam ahead protecting California.
Oh, boy. So the French Laundry, it was one of the biggest mistakes he ever made. She was asked as well about the state legislature. Let's play that clip, cut 30.
The legislature.
So I think the legislature has begun to really have conversations about what we're going to do about Trump. I think that was right to have that emergency early session to talk about after the election, because I think they understood early on that
Pause it.
We might be a lot of miles.
The only thing the legislature has done well, now you're a Democrat. They've passed every single one of your policies. And you're saying the best thing the legislature has done is tried to figure out ways how to stop Trump. Stop Trump from doing what, by the way? You haven't stopped him from bringing ICE agents into this state. So what do you want to stop him from doing? Stop him from blowing up Venezuelan boats, carrying drugs to America? Stop him from creating peace in the Middle East? Stop him from lowering our gas prices? Oh, you did a good job at that, Katie Porter in the state legislature. There's a place where you stop Trump. Our gas prices are the highest in the nation. Meanwhile, it's half in states like Texas and Florida. So they did a good job stopping on there. Continue, Katie Porter.
Away from Washington, but what Washington does really affects California's government, right? So our Medi-Cal, it's called Medi-Cal, but a lot of the funding comes from Washington. It's our version of Medicaid.
What is one thing that you think was a misstep that you would have prevented if you were governor?
Well, I would say just generally, I would point the legislature toward doing more to bring down costs, to focus more on that. I think they need to look holistically. So they often pass one more law, one more law, one more law. And I think it's good to take a step back, look at how all those pieces fit together. So when we're talking about housing costs, I'm really glad they're working on that issue. I wish they'd started sooner.
Is there anything that they did that you think increased housing costs or was...
Pause. All right. Listen to me. She says things about working holistically. You want to work holistically. You lower regulations. You lower taxes. You spur investment. There's lots of things you can do. You don't have a situation to rebuild a house in the Palisades. It takes you a year to get a permit. So let's keep going through some of these because I didn't get to Steve Hilton. I didn't get to Antonio Villaraigosa. This is fascinating, the good and bad of Gavin Newsom from these gubernatorial candidates. And by the way, I put the call out to all of you. Give me something good that Gavin Newsom has done. And by the way, we don't have one call. Folks, what if I told you you could lock into up to 20% annualized interest on your investment, and this group would pay you that interest monthly, direct cash flow into your bank account? I'm doing this with the folks over at get20now.com. This is about Bitcoin mining. It's about taking advantage of the Bitcoin craze without the wild swings. You lock into, as I said, up to 20% interest, depending on the deal you make with them. And they have lived up to all their promises to me. Every month, like clockwork, I get that money deposited into my bank account. I've made a sizable investment with the folks at NFN8. I want you to contact them, get20now.com. Answer the call or call them back when they get with you. You'll be talking to one of the principals in the company. His name is Corey. He's a great guy. They all think like us. They believe in the same things we do. And I'm a big fan of this company, NFN8.com. So if you want to take advantage of the Bitcoin craze, but you don't want the wild swings, I want you to talk to the folks at get20now.com. That's get20now.com. Pay them a visit today.
I think the legislature has begun to really have conversations about what we're going to do about Trump. I think that was right to have that emergency early session to talk about after the election, because I think they understood early on that we might be a lot of miles away from Washington, but what Washington does really affects California's government, right? So our Medi-Cal, it's called Medi-Cal, but a lot of the funding comes from Washington. It's our version of Medicaid.
What is one thing that you think was a misstep that you would have prevented if you were governor?
Well, I would say just generally, I would point the legislature toward doing more to bring down costs, to focus more on that. I think they need to look holistically. So they often pass one more law, one more law, one more law. And I think it's good to take a step back, look at how all those pieces fit together. So when we're talking about housing costs, I'm really glad they're working on that issue. I wish they'd started sooner.
Is there anything that they did that you think increased housing costs or was harmful?
No, I think it's largely been a story of inaction on some of that, and I think some of it is just thinking that somehow this is going to be somebody else's problem. You don't care whose responsibility it is, you just want help. And so I'm glad I think they've made real strides in starting to think about how to bring down the cost of housing.
All right. So I don't think they've done anything to bring down the cost of housing. I think the only way you bring down the cost of housing is, one, you have to start bringing down the cost of energy, because this is what it costs to move goods around this state. Very, very expensive. We've heard from Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum earlier talk about we burn more timber than we harvest in California. Do you understand? Wildfires burn more wood than we harvest. That's a real problem, because that means the cost of wood is up. So not only are we harvesting, we're also burning it. The wildfire's taking a huge toll on that. The cost of lumber goes up. How do you think you're going to have lower housing prices with that? And by the way, the cost to get around is so expensive. Everything is so expensive. So companies are forced to raise salaries. That sounds good, except your money when you get a raise goes out the door to gas prices, to groceries, to buying a car, to doing all of these things in California. You want to bring the price of real estate down, make it more affordable to live here. That's how you do it. When only rich people are competing for homes, what do you think is going to happen? The price is going to go up and up and up. And by the way, this is a double-edged sword. Those of you who bought your homes and are living now in a house that you couldn't afford, how many of you could afford your house today under the current interest rate of 6% and what it would cost on the open market? I bet most of you say, I couldn't afford my house. Well, do you want real estate prices going down? This is most people's nest egg. We talk about lowering the cost of real estate. Are these politicians so ignorant to think, oh, well, we're only going to lower the cost of new real estate, but the ones that you have will stay high so you don't lose your nest egg? It's a fine line here, because I got a lot of my money in my house. I don't want it going down all that much. All right, let's go to Steve Hilton. So Steve Hilton, a great friend of this program, former Fox News host, great conservative mind, running for governor. Where does he stand on Gavin Newsom? Cut 27.
The thing he's done that I most strongly agree with, and it's something that I actually argued for in a book that I wrote 10 years ago called More Human, is very decisively acting to stop smartphones being used in schools. It's an incredibly important move. We've got massive problems in education as it is. The schools are not performing like we want. We don't need those.
How about Steve Hilton? This is why I love this guy. He's very, very smart. I think he's smarter than me in some respects. And that's smart, man. That's real smart. So, smartphones in schools. You know, at one point I was like on the fence with it. My son has to put his phone in a bag. It actually is better for education. There's no way you can argue it. Now, is it better in case of an emergency or something happens at school? No. But as far as education goes every day, it's better these kids don't have their cell phones. It's a good one. It's a good one Hilton came up with. I'll give it to you, Hilton. You got me on that. Keep it going.
Distractions. I'll show you what I would recommend.
Okay.
Which is the phone that I have, which is a good old-fashioned flip phone.
He's got a flip phone. He does. And this is why I tried to text him the other day, that commercial we wrote for Stop Prop 50, you know, he can't see it on his flip phone. So then I've got to email it to him and all that. It's kind of a pain in the neck. How about, should we do it, Antonio Villaraigosa? What has he done well? Cut 31.
Working with the other side is important. 25% of the state is Republican, but 40% voted for Donald Trump. And what I've said to people, I think we got to hear them out, listen to them. It doesn't mean we're going to agree with them on everything, but I do think our body politic needs more civility. I do think our body politic needs less polarization.
It's interesting hearing that from a Democrat, and that was nothing good about Gavin Newsom, because Gavin Newsom is one of the most polarizing figures in America today. Not to say that President Trump isn't polarizing. He is. And that's okay when you are playing to your base, which Gavin Newsom most certainly is. This guy, Antonio Villaraigosa, though, he's a Democrat, and he's talking about civility when literally Democrats are talking about killing us. Murder the Nazis. That's us, by the way. So, I don't know. I don't buy it. He doesn't stand a chance either, by the way, with that attitude. Be nice to each other. Who's going to win in politics with that attitude? Real quick, let's go out to the phone lines. Quick call before we go to break. This is Jen in Moore Park. What do you say, Jen?
Hey, Grant. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you, Jen.
I think that Gavin Newsom did a great job cleaning up L.A. and San Francisco, but only if there's a Super Bowl or communists involved.
That's true. That's a good point. You remember when President Xi came in? I think it was San Francisco, right? They cleaned up the whole city. And so you're right. Maybe it'll be great when the Olympics come here. I don't know. I think it's going to be a disaster.
No, it won't be. It won't be. But as soon as those things left, everything went back to the way it was.
Yeah, you raise a great point,
Yeah,
Jen. Thank you so much. I'm glad I took the phone call. Thank you for holding. Folks, I just read a report that shows Americans in record numbers are outliving their retirement savings. That puts you in a very precarious situation. Why is this happening? It's because the retirement strategies that most people are using are the same tired old strategies from the 1970s. What happens? Financial advisors get risk. The retirement companies get rich, but it often leaves you and your savings positioned very poorly. Companies like BlackRock and Vanguard keep getting bigger and bigger while your retirement savings struggle to keep up with the rising cost of everything today. It doesn't have to be this way. My great friends at Augusta Precious Metals have put together an important report tailored just for my audience. Many of you have over $50,000 in a retirement account, whether it's an IRA, 401k, or a TSP, which means you need to get your hands on this concise but powerful 2-minute report about how to take full control of your retirement and financial future. Here's what I want you to do. Visit grantlovesgold.com. That's grantlovesgold.com, or text Grant to 35052. Do it today. You'll get instant access to this 2-minute report. In it, you'll learn one step that you can take that will open the doors to a modern way to protect and grow your retirement. It uses the same strategies the wealthy use to protect their portfolios. Look, even companies like BlackRock and Vanguard are using these strategies themselves without sharing them with their clients. Well, now you can start taking advantage of them as well. So if you have over $50,000 in your retirement accounts, you need to contact my friends at Augusta Precious Metals. Visit grantlovesgold.com. That's grantlovesgold.com, or text Grant to 35052. Do it today. Your future self will thank you. So Prop 50 is coming up. You know what Prop 50 is. This is this amendment to the Constitution that we put to the voters to amend the way we redistrict in California. Now, it is supposed to be a temporary redistricting that the state legislature can intervene before 2030 when the next redistricting happens, and the commission would then take over again, this so-called independent commission in California. I'm not convinced it's very independent. Now, this is in response to Texas's plan to redistrict Texas, where they will gain Republican seats. Now, couple things I want to make clear here. Texas was told by the courts to redistrict. There were some issues with the way their districts were drawn, so they were told to redistrict. 2, Texas can do this. It is not unconstitutional to do this. The legislature is in charge of drawing the districts, so Texas is not out of bounds by doing this, albeit political in nature. I'm not going to lie to you, 100% it is. So California responds. Now, California, it is unconstitutional to redistrict. Specifically says redistricting has to be done by this bipartisan commission, and that's what's being put to a vote. But the maps have already been redrawn. I've told you over and over again, I believe the legislature didn't have the right, and it was unconstitutional for them to even draw the maps before this was passed. So they did it backwards, but they don't care, and apparently no court in California cares. When I talk to people, the court fight in all of this is over until after the election. That's a real problem. But I decided to go and read Prop 50. How many of you would do that? Now, it's only one page long, albeit little words. But Prop 50 gets into things that should not be written in the text of the proposed constitutional amendment. What does Texas have to do with Prop 50? Now, we know politically it has to do with Prop 50, but legally it shouldn't have anything to do with Prop 50. Texas shouldn't be mentioned in the proposed amendment. And if you want to see just how partisan your legislature is for writing this Proposition 50, let me read you some of it. First, this measure shall be known and may be cited as the Election Rigging Response Act. Now, you know, they name these bills so it sounds great. Of course, no one wants election rigging, unless, of course, you're rigging it in favor of my team, which is the Republicans. Then let's go have at it, because I'm sick of them rigging elections here in California. Second, the people of the state of California find and declare all the following. Are you ready for this? A, President Donald Trump has called on Republican-led states to undertake an unprecedented mid-decade redistricting of congressional seats to rig the 2026 United States midterm elections before voting begins. This is in the text of the amendment. You're declaring that President Trump is the one rigging elections? B, the state of Texas has convened a special session of its legislature to redraw congressional district maps to unfairly advantage Republicans. Well, what do you think you just did in California? This should not be in the text of the bill, of the proposed amendment, as I should say. D, Republicans have urged the state of Ohio to conduct its mid-decade redistricting to unfairly produce more Republican seats in Congress. So now We're bringing Ohio into all of this. Does anybody see the problem with the partisan nature of this? I mean, maybe I'm naive, but at least pretend to be partisan or nonpartisan. At least pretend to do it within the bounds of the law and not have politics play. There's no pretending here. They are so bold. They are so brazen in Sacramento. They don't care what any of you out there think. Section E. Republican officials in the state of Indiana, Missouri, New Hampshire, Nebraska, and South Carolina are also considering President Trump's call for the mid-decade redistricting of congressional seats to unfairly advantage Republicans. You're asking people to vote to change the Constitution of California, and your reasons for doing it is because other states are redistricting and you don't think it's fair. So you're admitting you don't think it's fair, but we're going to do it here anyway. Now, my mom taught me, and I told you my mom's a liberal, but she taught me everything I know about conservatism. And one thing about conservatism is 2 wrongs don't make a right. And that's what this new commercial is about. There's an ad out. Let me play it for you. Cut 29, Dan the Bowman.
Why is it wrong to rig the election in California if Texas is doing it too?
As a teacher, I often have to explain to kids why 2 wrongs don't make a right. And Prop 50 is a perfect example. Politicians are using your hatred of Trump to get what they want. Prop 50 takes power away from you by destroying the independent citizens' redistricting process. And Prop 50 wastes $300 million, money that should go to our schools. Rigging elections is wrong, and 2 wrongs don't make a right. Vote no on Prop 50.
All right, now, I don't know if the Prop 50 people, we did give my commercial. You remember my commercial, a Republican power grab. Do you have it, Dan, by any chance? All right, you can find it. And because I don't know if they used some of my ideas for that. They didn't go as overboard as I went. But we did talk about taking power away from you and rigging elections. Now, I will say this, and I'm not criticizing the makers of this ad for claiming 2 wrongs don't make a right. It actually makes sense that you claim that. It may help people, bring people to your side. But Texas isn't in the wrong here. They were ordered to redraw their maps by a court. And they have the ability, as I mentioned earlier, to do that because the Texas legislature is supposed to. So you heard that commercial. This is the commercial that Jen and I came up with. I wrote during commercial. And let's see if there's some similarities. Mine's a little more over the top. Prop 50 is a Trojan horse, a Republican power grab. The minority MAGA crowd in Sacramento has duped Democrat lawmakers, even Gavin Newsom, into pushing Prop 50 on California. In a few short years, it will be used against Californians to take away your power. Vote no on Prop 50. Stop the Republican Trojan horse.
Brought to you by No for Prop 50.
So it's got some themes. Now, I went a little more overboard but do you notice in the new ad, they bring up President Trump and your hatred for President Trump. And then and they talk about the power grab and taking power away from you. It has some undertones of what we did. But again, I could keep going through this Prop 50 text. Here, Section F. President Trump and Republicans are attempting to gain enough seats through redistricting to rig the outcome of the 2026 United States midterm elections, regardless of how the people vote. These are wild claims that are being made in the text of a constitutional amendment. Does anyone else think that is out of bounds? I'm here to tell you it has. Maybe let me read you this. This is the worst, okay? California has long stood as a national leader for fair, independent, and nonpartisan redistricting. Really? California has not stood for anything fair and nonpartisan in probably decades, if not centuries. Anyway, this really is an exposure into just how deceitful these Democrats in Sacramento really are. All right, 855-785-8255. That's the number to weigh in. We're going to have Jessica Milan Patterson at the top of the hour to talk about this. The fight is on to save California and the country with this, saying no to Prop 50. Folks, do you know what Chagas disease is? It's disgusting. It's this rare bug called the kissing bug that bites you, and then you get infected with this parasite. Now, this was once considered a distant problem, but now cases have recently been detected in multiple U.S. states, including California, Texas, Arizona, and so many others. Now, early signs of this are fever, rash, fatigue, swollen lymph nodes. It may seem mild, yet over time, the disease can bring severe heart damage, digestive dysfunction, and yes, even death. Now, don't fear this. All right. The Wellness Company has a solution. It's a parasite cleanse. I just went through it, a total body detox. Ivermectin and mebendazole, FDA approved for human use. It's the solution. Ivermectin paralyzes and kills parasites by disrupting the nervous system, while mebendazole starves them by blocking glucose absorption. This potent combination delivers broad spectrum defense against intestinal and tissue parasites. So what I'm telling you is it's most all of the common parasites that cause bloating and skin problems and brain fog and all of these things you don't want. Go with the Total Body Wellness Company Detox Parasite Cleanse. Fill out a quick intake form. It is literally that easy. You fill out the intake form, you'll get a bottle of 90 capsules, 4 cycles, shipped straight to your door. Head to twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. Save $60 off plus free shipping. It is that easy. You just fill out that form. They will send it right to you. I promise you, it worked for me. It'll work for you. Get a total body detox. The Wellness Company. Do it today. Boy, I'll tell you what. This Spencer Pratt, the reality TV star, that is literally taking the fight, not just to City Hall in Los Angeles, but really to Sacramento as well, calling out the hypocrisy from the left, calling out the ineptitude from the left. And of course, I'm talking about what happened after the Palisades fire back in January, the response to it, or should we say the lack of response to it, the slow going of the rebuild, and then looking at what is typical for California, the expenses paid out to staffers who appear not to do anything except work overtime. So Spencer Pratt, who, again, is a reality TV star, he's not an investigative reporter, but maybe he should be. So the Los Angeles Water and Power, LADWP, has 109 employees. Okay, this is what oversees our reservoirs, etc. So LADWP pays out the 109 employees, not the total amount of employees. The 109 employees that he found earned over $500,000 in compensation in 2023, with 27 of them crossing the $600,000 mark. Now, remember, this is the same LADWP that had fire hydrants that didn't work. This is the same LADWP that had reservoirs empty. This is the same LADWP that we were told the reservoir was being fixed. It would be filled shortly. And yet still that same reservoir that was empty that affected so many during those fires in January still appears not to be filled to any capacity that's worth mentioning. So again, you've got a situation of ineptitude. You've got a situation of paying for ineptitude. Now, when you go through this, and he did a heck of a job of putting together a one sheet of the big picture. It's so outrageous, I don't even know where to start. I'll tell you this. Quinones, who's the CEO of LADWP, she makes about $750,000 a year. And you're thinking that's an awful lot of money to not be ready for fires and not have fire hydrants ready to go. But you want to know who the top earner is? She's not the top earner, and she's the CEO. Anybody wants to take a guess? Well, I won't make it a quiz because I'm only here by myself. I mean, I guess I could have Radar and Dan do it, but you'd never guess this. Top earner, Kenneth McCrank. He's a load dispatcher. Okay, no, I'm sure that's a very important role, a load dispatcher, but if you have dispatcher in the name, no offense to dispatchers everywhere, you're a very important job, but I don't think you should be making $814,102 that included $396,000 in overtime on top of his $184,000 base salary. How are you getting to 814? First off, when he spells this out, that doesn't even equal the 814. So you have bonuses on top of that, probably. $814,000 to be a load dispatcher. You're making $65,000 more than the CEO of the company you're working. Two egregious overtime examples, according to Spencer Pratt and the one page he put together. Kenneth Vargas, an electric trouble dispatcher, again, dispatcher in the word, earned $174,000 in overtime on, you ready for this? You know what his base salary was? $30,655. Now, that base salary is not very much. I don't know how you live on $30,000 in Los Angeles. Well, here's how you do it. You work a hell of a lot of overtime, and his compensation reached $270,725, meaning 64% of his pay came from overtime. So this electric trouble dispatcher with a salary of $30,000 a year made $270,000. Now, I want to make this clear for Kenneth Vargas and Kenneth McCrank. Kenneth is the name to have, I guess. I'm actually not criticizing you. You know what? If they're going to offer this up to you and you're going to bust your hump, now I don't know if you busted your hump or not. I don't know if you sat on your butt dispatching or what you did. But if you're going to work that kind of overtime and they're going to pay it to you, well, I'm not going to fault you for doing it. My beef is not with these employees. My beef was with management allowing this to happen. So I've owned a number of businesses. Many of you know that. And one of the things that I had to do was balance overtime versus regular time. And how many employees can I hire to limit the amount of overtime? Or was it cheaper for me to pay a little overtime and hire one less person? This was constantly a balance, and you're constantly looking at the numbers. How does it play out? If I have 6 workers that all work 40 hours a week or 5 workers that work 50 hours a week, is it cheaper to pay the 10 hours of overtime for the 5 workers than it is to pay? Usually, it's cheaper to end up hiring an extra employee and limit the amount of overtime. Clearly, that would be the case with this. Then, the hard thing as a business owner is once you start limiting the overtime for somebody, well, you know, you'll claim I didn't cut your pay, but you did. If someone's used to getting 10 hours a week and they've been getting 10 hours a week in OT for the last 3 years, and now you cut that out, I mean, they just lost pay. And I think employers need to understand that when they're looking at compensation, people rely on a certain amount of overtime, which is why when you hire someone, you got to hire them at a reasonable amount of overtime. This is clearly not happening inside LADWP. Here's another one, Gregory Martin, an electric distribution mechanic supervisor. My quick car oil change business would have gone out of business if I had Gregory Martin working for me as a mechanic. He earned a substantial base salary of $204,000. This is all according to Spencer Pratt. He collected an astronomical $435,000 in overtime pay. Now, first off, if you're a manager, how are you making overtime? Because typically my manager would not make overtime. But some big-time benefits came with that. He wants to take a little extra long lunch, or he wants to knock off on a Friday. All he's got to do is call me, say, hey, boss, you mind if I knock off a couple hours early? No problem. You're still going to get paid the same amount. That's the benefit I give a salaried manager. Here you're a manager at $204,000 base salary, and you work $435,000 in overtime pay. That not only doubled his regular income, his total compensation, which I don't understand how this works, because the total compensation comes in with a couple $100,000 more than the OT and base salary combined at $781,000. $781,000. Again, $31,000 more than the CEO makes. This is craziness. Well, Spencer Pratt talked about this. Let's roll cut one for me. Dan.
Look at all that water. You know the LADWP has a combined water and power budget of $11 billion, but where's all that money going? As of 2023, over 100 LADWP employees earned an annual compensation of over $500,000 each. 27 LADWP employees earn more than $600,000 per year, and 4 top-level LADWP employees earn more than $700,000 a year. But somehow these highly paid individuals couldn't find the funds to repair a $140,000 tear in the Santa Ynez Reservoir or get the Palisades Reservoir at Chautauqua online, despite being paid billions of.
The repair was $140,000? And they're paying these people $781,000 a year, and they couldn't make the $140,000 repair. Spencer Pratt makes an unbelievable assessment there. You had millions of dollars worth of homes, maybe billions, go up in flames because you didn't make the $140,000 repair. Any lawyers out there hear that one? All right, continue.
Online, despite being paid millions upon millions of dollars, the top level employees at the LADWP failed to do their basic job. At this point, we shouldn't be surprised. It's just like Newsom and all his friends and the nonprofits and the NGOs. They blow all the budget and the salaries, and there's nothing left to accomplish the actual task at hand, like having water for the town that didn't need to burn down.
Exactly. The town burned down over $140,000 repair, not to mention there are no freaking water in the fire hydrants, not to mention the fire department lapses, not to mention the lapses from city. It was an entire disaster at every single level. Thank you, Spencer Pratt. Really doing a hell of a job exposing this stuff, doing what the mainstream media can't do. We're happy to take your information and put it out there because the public needs to know this stuff. These salaries are outrageous. Somebody's got to get in there and take control of this thing. You want to know why L.A. County, L.A. City, Sacramento, California can't afford their bills while they're getting busted? It's because of stories like this. It really is. Thank you, Spencer Pratt. You see this cell phone right here? This is supported by Patriot Mobile. They are my service provider. They're the official service provider of Stinchfield's Army. Why? Because the folks at Patriot Mobile think like us. They believe in the same things we believe in. They're putting constitutions in schools, 10 commandment signs in classrooms across America, supporting our veterans, fighting for our gun rights, fighting for right to life issues. You name it, Patriot Mobile is on the front lines. But beyond that, it's great service. You get to choose which network you want to be on. You get 100% U.S.-based customer service. So you know when you call, you're going to get an English-speaking person right here in America that's going to help you quickly. Their customer service, by the way, is fabulous. Switching is easy. Keep your phone, upgrade your phone, get a new phone, whatever you want to do. Patriot Mobile will help you. And when I tell you switching is easy, it literally takes minutes. So here's what I want you to do. Go to patriotmobile.com/Grant. That's patriotmobile.com/Grant, or you can call them at 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT, and tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right, folks, that is going to do it for us. I'm Grant Stinchfield. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, Stinchfield 1776 on all the social media platforms. GrantStinchfield.com is the website. You get all the podcasts there. And please, if you're watching, subscribe to the channel, share the channel, like the video. Heck, copy and paste the link if you want to, and share it on all of your social media platforms. This is how we get the word out there. So stick with me, please. Again, GrantStinchfield.com. That's GrantStinchfield.com. Stinchfield's Army rolls because of all of you. We'll see you tonight on the Real America's Voice show. Thanks for watching, everybody.